has been heated so intensely to about 1200 centigrade, that's about 2200 Fahrenheit, that the clay has vitrified into stone. It is hard to scratch even with steel and impervious to liquids and most things. The clay has been always found around the neighborhood of the stoneware centers. Workers had to dig for the clay and mine it out, like you see here on my first picture. The next step had been to prepare the clay so that the potter could use it. Therefore, the rough material had been put in open pits, the clay has been washed out, and after the deprivation of water, the clay has been kneaded and cleaned. Sometimes sand or other sorts of clay have been added to the correct consistency of that. Afterwards, the material has been cut in pieces and given to the potter that forms the stein by hand on the fast wheel. Here you see a potter working. The whole body of the stein, from the ground to the lip, has been pulled up in one continuous movement, and afterwards cut from the turntable with a rolled wire. Then the vessels had been dried in the air until they got leather hard and could be damaged by touching. The handles had been attached with clay slip and decorative reliefs had been applied, ornaments had been stamped or drawings scratched on the body. Here you see a lady working with this wood and drawing in the leather hard stoneware clay. Now the stein could have been painted with cobalt blue, manganese, or like quite often in Saxony or Bunzlau, dipped in a colored, sintered and gold or clay face. Here you see the same lady painting the stein with cobalt blue. She's working in a Westerwald workshop, so you see quite modern Westerwald stoneware, but the technique is about the same like we had in the 16th, 17th and 18th century. Now the pieces had been ready to put in ovens and get fired. Here you see a salt glaze oven from Westerwald, and here you see an old edge how they fired the pieces in the 16th and 17th century. Since the end of the 15th century, salt glaze was popular for stoneware. Therefore, the potters had to throw salt in the ovens in that moment when the fire reached its highest temperature of about 1200 centigrade. Here you see the potters put in the salt. The chemical reaction of the burning salt took care of the salt glaze of the steins. Here's another photo. Two different firing processes have been possible: oxidation firing or reduction firing. After oxidation firing, the stoneware turned it brown because of the reaction of oxygen with ferrous parts of the clay. It's like a car at gas thrust. After reduction firing, the stoneware stayed gray because there had been no oxygen in the oven that could turn the ferrous parts of the clay into brown. I think that you have now heard enough about the different techniques of stoneware production and that you are ready to see the various products of the stoneware production centers. We will start with the oldest potter center, Köln, Frechen and Siegburg. Then we will go east and end up with the Silesian Potter Center from Bunzlau. Here you have a map where you can see all the different cities they developed in potter centers. On the left there are the west cities, that is Cologne, Frechen, things like this. Then about in the middle you can see Preußen, that is in Franconia. And also in the middle, very close to this, is Saxony, with the famous factories Annaberg, Altenburg, Waldenburg. And on the east end you will see Bunzlau. In the Rhinish potter centers, it happens around 1300 that they burnt clay at temperatures of 1200 to 1300 centigrade. The clay vitrified and got impervious to liquids. After the invention of the salt plates by the Cologne potters in the middle of the 15th century, the golden age had come for the Rhinish potter centers: Cologne, Frechen, Siegburg, Raren, and Westerwald. Here you have the potter centers on the map. The Rhinish potter centers is Frechen, Siegburg, and the Westerwald area around Hergrenzhausen. The Cologne and Frechen stoneware had a grey body that got a ferruginous clay envelope that took care for the brown color of the stein during oxidation firing. Typical shapes are Bartmannskrüge or Pinten, which with applied relief work. So now let's finally start with steins. Here you see a Cologne Bartmannskrug. Here you have some close-ups from the applied relief work. And here you see also etchings that they took the relief work from. Here's another etching where you can see how they made the reliefs. The molds for the reliefs. This is a Frechen piece, also Bartmannskrug. Close up, so you can see the relief work, and you can see how it's the bottom of the stein. The stoneware of Siegburg has been well known for his fine white grey body. The golden age of Siegburg had been the 16th century. The steins got applied relief work after woodcuts and copper engravings from Virgil Solis, Abraham Brünn, Jos Ammann, and Elde. The Siegburg Schnellen from the potter masters Christian and Peter Knüten, as well as Hans Hilgers, still count today to the best products of the stoneware industry. So you see one of the Siegburg Schnelles. Same one in close up. And here you see again on the one hand the original Snelle, and on the other hand you see the copper engraving from Virgil Solis, where they took the applied work from. Another one, I think this one is dated 1589 when it makes this. Okay, through immigration of potters from Cologne, Raren developed in the second half of the 16th century to one of the most important pottery centers in the Rhineland. The dark grey, ferruginous clay got oxidation fired and got to his brown color. Characteristic products had been Kurfürsten jugs and the jugs with the farmer stands after the copper engravings from R.S. Behan. The most important potter masters from Raren have been the family Manniken. Jan Emens Manniken has discovered the technique of reduction firing stoneware that later became so famous as the typical grey and blue salt-glazed Westerwald stoneware. So here you see the first Raren. It's very similar, it's the shape of the Schnelle, it's similar to the Schnelle that we have seen on Siegburg. Here is just a Rarenstein with a nice golden armor ply. Here you have a close-up. Here's a typical shape now for Raren. Here you see the farmer stands. And here this is typical Kurfürsten group, where all the Kurfürsten from Germany are on. Here you have it in the book. After the decline of the leading stoneware centers of Siegburg, Cologne and Raren, towards the end of the 16th century, the Westerwald area experienced its long-lasting golden age from the end of the 16th to the 18th century. This development was sparked off by the settlement of the prominent immigrants, master potters like Knudke from Siegburg and the families Kalb and Menneken from Rade. In the 16th and 17th century, the steins got reduced firing and applied relief work. They got painted cobalt blue and after 1650 sometimes also manganese. In the 18th century, incised and kniebed patterns had been developed and displaced the applied relief work. Let's start with Westerwald steins. Here you see one from the 17th century. Here's close-ups. You can see very nice applied relief work here. Another one with relief work. And here you see the manganese colors that showed up around 1650. Here you see the typical handle with this rolled-in end from the Westerwald pieces of this area, this time around 1700. Here's another one. This is now 18th century. You see applied relief work on, and you see also the incised and kniebed technique. This is a quite rare one because the lid is not made out of pewter, it's made also from the Westerwald clay. It's quite very rare to find a piece like this because normally the lid breaks immediately, but finally one that. Here's the piece. But again, end of 18th century. Same style. Also end of 18th century. Okay. Croatia, Saxony and Silesia developed parallel to the Rhinish pottery centers into very important potter centers as well. In the city Croatia, close to Bayreuth, brown salt-faced stoneware had been produced since the beginning of the 17th century. The mostly squared steins got applied relief work or chip carving. Since the second quarter of the 17th century, a part of the steins got painted with bright enamel colors by the glass painters of Bohemia and the Fichtelgebirge. Very well known are the Greußen Apostel and Planet steins. Slightly rarer are the hunting scenes and the steins with the electors applied relief work. This here is the first Greußen stein that you see. It's an early one. It could be beginning of 17th century. It's still brown without enamel painting. Enamel painting came a little bit later. Here you see the molds which they used to put the relief work on. And this is one with a typical chip carving. And here's the enamel pieces now. Chip carved piece, enameled, painted, and also the apostle pieces. And here you have to watch the handle because I will show you now soon a mold that shows the handle. No, it will come later, sorry. Here's another one with a coat of arm. And here are the molds they used to produce the apostle steins. So you see on the left hand an apostle, and you see the angles. You see again apostles. here you see how the horses then look like when they're on the sign. Paint with enamel color. And now I can show you that there's really quite close between the paintings of glass at this time period. This one is a Reichsadlerhumpen, dated 1650, and the other stein that you had here, you see the same flowers, so you can really imagine that there have been the same painters, the same man worked painting glass pieces and also the pieces in cross. Here's a Reichsadler from front size. And here's another apostle stein with the same flowers in between the apostles. This one is also dated 1662. And here you see the molds that they used to put on the handles on the right hand. In Saxony, stoneware had been produced in the cities Waldenburg, Altenburg, Annaberg and Freiberg. The oldest and most important potter center in central Germany had been Waldenburg. The zenith of the stoneware production in Waldenburg had been the period between the second half of the 16th century and the first third of the 17th century. In this time period, Waldenburg stoneware was in great demand and extensive exports were even made to Venice in Italy. The stoneware had been oxidation fired, which gave it its brown color. Typical shapes are the so-called beehive tankards with excellently worked applications, and jugs that got decorated with a cobalt blue smalt. Change the... Yes, okay. Here you see the first Waldenburg piece, and you can see the excellent applied relief work. And here two other ones, and the right one that has a typical shape of the beehive. So this is one of the spouted jugs with the blue color, and it got the blue color. It's a small, they just threw it in the oven, so they didn't paint it before. And here that's another very cute one from Waldenburg. Okay, that's the next factory. The next is Altenburg. The first stoneware was produced around 1620, 1630. In the 17th century, the Altenburg stoneware only got oxidation fired, and the potters produced squat steins with cutwork and applied knobs. In the 18th century, they also did reduction firing, and therefore they could produce white and brown stoneware well. So the most well-known Altenburg products count the so-called pearl jugs. This here is a piece that's around 1700 with another decoration on. Here you have the close-up. This one is a piece that is reduction fired, so it got the white color, and it's very rare to have a piece with this enamel painting on. This one is a piece with this typical pearls, with decoration that's made of pearls. And the pearls stayed white because they took a different clay. They took a clay where there is no iron in, so that it couldn't turn it brown during firing. Here you can see the pearls very well on the right hand, on top. Here's another pearl jug. Stein. There's also one here, you can see that they also painted the pearls with brown and with dark brown, with manganese, with different colors. Here you can see the horses. They put the white clay and then afterwards they This is also a specialty for Altenburg, that it's just a plain stein with absolutely fancy pewter on. And it's very beautiful. It's the pewter work that they have done on this Altenburg steins. You can see the medallions. And here's a very fancy pewter work that they did around the inch and around the thumb lift. Okay, so it's also one bullet. I think it's not. It's in the wrong here. Sorry. Okay, here's the next. The Annaberg stoneware, strictly speaking, is not stoneware, as the clay used by the Annaberg potters did not vitrify 100%. Therefore, the vessels were given a black-brown sintered engobe to get the pieces vitrified. The production of this black-brown engobed ware began around 1630 and went until the second half of the 18th century. Typical products are squared steins and pear-shaped jugs with applied relief work, scale patterns, and acanthus friezes. The applied relief work got painted with enameled colors since about 1640. Coat of arm applications, hunting scenes, and the half-length portraits of the Elector Johann George II and his wife had been very popular. This is the first one of Annaberg. Here you see the tools that they needed, that they used to put acanthus frieze on. You see it on the right hand, the stamps. Here you see one with this half-length portraits of Elector Johann George. You see a nice one with hunting scenes. And the electors. And also here that picture shows you quite well that the clay had been painted with this brown engobe. You can see the bottom of the stein that is light gray, and you really can see quite well that there is paint on. You can see on the right down, you can see the round things that happened because under this stein had been another one, and so the color from the steins that had been underneath is still now on this stein, and you can see a little bit the colors that have been on the hands of the people, of the potters that produced the steins. Here are the typical pear-shaped ones. In the Saxony city Freiberg, potters produced stoneware early in the 17th century. The black-brown and gold quartz steins that had been produced until around 1660 looks very close to the Annaberg products. Here you see on the left hand the Annaberg stein and on the right hand the Freiberg stein. And they have both a very similar engobe, but the enamel painting from Annaberg and from Freiberg is absolutely different. Here is a Freiberg piece. This is a typical Freiberg enamel paint on. And here you also will see the bottom of the stein. You can see again that they put an engobe on. You see it on the ring that is shown here. After 1660, the Freiberg potters did reduction firing. And then they produced grey stoneware that got painted with enameled colors. A specialty of Freiberg had been the steins with fine network patterning and incised rosettes that got painted only in black and white. Here you see one, it is grey stoneware painted black and white, didn't come out so good. Here you see the typical lids that are on Freiberg pieces. Here you can see it better. That is gray stoneware with gray and with white and black enamel paint on. The city Muskau had been a very important potter center in the Lausitz. The stoneware production started here in the 16th century and reached the zenith in the 17th and 18th century. There was no other production center where such a vast variety of vessel forms, decoration elements, and body coloring was to be found. There was not only oxidation-fired brown, but also reduction-fired gray. Forms of decorations included applications, net patterning, incised elements, and tiny quartz stones had been done. Typical for the Muskau steins is diagonal groove patterning on the lower body of the steins. Here you see the first Muskau piece. It's gray with some paint on, blue and manganese. Here you see one gray pottery with manganese, with cobalt blue color on. And here you see the first oxidation-fired ones, that is brown, also painted with dark brown colors. And here you see the groove, where you can see that they made the brown ones, the oxidation-fired and the reduction-fired. Here you have another one, gray stone with blue paint on. And here you can, on the bottom it shows you again that under cystine in the oven had been another one. And when they made reduction firing, in the steins that had been under cystine, there had been some oxidate left. And so the oxidates that had been in cystine left made the brown thing that is now on cystine here. That happens when you do reduction firing. Then the oxidate that is left in the stein that is below this one turns it into color brown. And here's one that is oxidation fired. Here is one that is again with the blue paint on. And here you see again that it gets a little bit brownish. Here's a brown one. And on the brown ones, then on the bottom you will see that where had been the other stein under this one, it couldn't turn it brown because there couldn't come enough oxidation on to the stein. This is a screw check. Okay, the last potter center I'm talking about is Bunzlau in Silesia. The potter tradition of Bunzlau goes back to the 16th century. As the clay in this region also does not vitrify at high temperatures, imperviousness has provided by the addition of a clay glaze, mostly colored brown, but sometimes also colored blue, green or black. The most well-known products are the melon-shaped mugs and the pear-shaped jugs with white applications. Steins in the cylindrical shape are quite hard to find. But here is one, it's an early one, 17th century. Here you see the yellow applied water. Here's another one, brown color with the yellow applications. typical piece, the pear-shaped one, with the white applications. That is what is quite more often found because it's 18th century and 19th century. Yes, here you can see the white applications quite well. This is a flower shape. Okay, I'm in time, I'm on the end. It's now 12 o'clock, Stein cells.
My objective this morning is to talk about glass.
He now says he plans to stay there a total of 99 days to represent